a lot of people who are within the prison walls would love to have the opportunity to be working on a boat while they're incarcerated. Huh?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, that's like creme de la creme of the transition work program jobs.
So you heard right. He does not spend time in a prison cell. He works on a boat. He sleeps on a boat, and he's getting paid decent money. Wait till you hear how much money he has saved up after 2 years of working on this boat. At the end in the unpacking, I'll go over a little bit more if you're curious to know about work release and how that works. With that, let's jump in.
Sir, we find that you are a second-class offender. You're currently serving a 25-year sentence for distribution of heroin and possession with the intent to distribute fentanyl. You have a parole eligibility date just passed, September 14th, 2024. You have an adjusted good time date of March 19th, 2026, and a full term date of 6/15/2043. Does that sound correct according to your understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I will note that you have earned 360 days of good time credit for
Yes, ma'am.
while you've been incarcerated. Mr. Johnson, are you currently in the transitional work program?
Yes, ma'am.
And where are you working?
At Cooper Consolidated
And where is that located?
in Hydenville, Louisiana.
I'm sorry, where?
Hydenville, Louisiana.
Pineville. Okay. And you're currently housed in Tangipahoa?
Yes, ma'am.
Y'all drive that every day?
Ma'am.
You drive there every day?
No, ma'am. We be on a boat. I work on a boat.
I see. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
A lot more sense than having to drive all the way
Yes,
up.
ma'am.
Okay. So how long have you been in transitional work program?
For 25 months.
And do you like it?
Yes, ma'am. I love it.
You making some money?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Haven't had a write-up since you've been on the boat?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So, Donnie, I don't know if you're aware that in the past, people who were found with possession with the intent to distribute heroin were charged with life.
Yes, ma'am.
You're aware that fentanyl is even more deadly than heroin?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you a user or just a seller?
A seller?
So you didn't use your own product? You didn't?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
So why were you selling?
I made some bad decisions and didn't know any better. And I regret. I take full accountability of my choices.
So when you get a 25-year sentence for possession with the intent to distribute fentanyl, did you feel like you got a good break there?
Yes, ma'am, because I was offered lesser time, but I didn't take it. So the sentence that I received, I feel that it was more time to give me a more eye opener and get rehabilitated in the class that I took.
You know, a lot of people who are within the prison walls would love to have the opportunity to be working on a boat while they're incarcerated. Huh?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, that's like creme de la creme of the transition work program jobs. You're not getting chicken or something. Okay. Do my colleagues have any questions?
How much money do you have in your account?
Well, I didn't get an update on my receipt, but I believe like 60,000.
That is great. Okay. Have you sent any home to family members?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how often you send money home to your family members?
But they only let you do it for like holidays and for when school starts.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Well, I'm glad you saved that much. That's amazing. You're gonna have a good start when you get out there. The problem is what you do with it.
Yes, sir.
If you go buy a fentanyl, you end up next time being in.
No, I'm not doing it no more. I'm not doing that anymore. I have accepted Christ in my life from the Celebrate Recovery class. And so dealing is not part of my plans anymore.
Mr. Prater?
Yes, ma'am. Let me ask you a question. I've got on the records I'm looking at, I see 2 charges. And one is the arrest date is 9/2 of 2022. That's a misprint or something, and that's the wrong deal. You weren't out in 2022, were you?
No, sir. I've been locked up since February of 2018.
Okay. All right. Well, that was I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss something. And so you've been locked up from really 2017, correct?
Yes, 2018, February of 2018.
Okay. And so that's 6 years, and you sold 2 times to undercover people, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And so that's a pretty good lick for 2 distribution charges. And you're gonna get out next year anyway, correct?
No, sir. In 2026.
Okay. Okay, March of 2026. And why, just tell me this, why should I believe you?
Well, I have bettered myself. I can read the letter that I had to wrote.
Yes, sir, I've read your file and I've studied. I just want to hear, I want you to convince me that you deserve to go ahead and get out. And that's because I don't know you and you don't know me, and
Yes,
it's
sir.
kind of like a job interview. I just want you to sell yourself to me.
Okay, I take full responsibility of my choices and the negative impact they have had. Since my incarceration, I have actively sought opportunities for self-employment and rehabilitation, participating in counseling, educational programs, and vocational training has given me insight into the consequences of my actions and the importance of making amends. I want to assure you that I am committed to leading a law-abiding life upon release. I have learned valuable lessons from these experiences, and primary focus is on contributing positively to society. I am genuinely remorseful for the pain I have caused and determined to use this opportunity for personal growth and redemptions.
Okay. Are you gonna work at the same place when you get out?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's all I got.
Oh, where are you gonna live? You gonna move up that way?
Yes, sir. I'm gonna move with my mother first, and then I'm gonna try to find me a house in the area so I can be close to my job.
Well, I'd like to ask you, so other than, I mean, would it be to your advantage to stay in and continue working at the transitional work program now?
Ma'am?
Would there be any disadvantage for you staying in and just continuing to work at the transitional work program?
Staying in and completing working? Well,
Yeah.
I have,
2026.
um,
Just staying in and continue working until 2026.
okay, well, I would like to be able to help my mother because she's disabled, and to help her to give her a hand on, because she's the only one living at home right now. That's why I was going to live with her until I'll be able to find me somewhere to go.
Okay, well, this is a great segue. She's here today, and we're going to allow her to speak.
Okay.
Ms. Johnson, if you'd like to go to the podium and address us. And
Yes, you, I gotta get a motion on the double value. But my name is Diane Johnson, I'm Diane Johnson's mother. And I had back surgery, I had 74 staples in my back, I have 2 discs, both screws. I'm going on the 24th, he has surgery, as you can say, I have not kidding. And I feel like, you know, that he learned his lesson. He never been in jail this long. And I also built his credit up for him, that when he come home, he have a line of credit, that where he can be ready for society. And I feel like, you know, he's ready, and you only get one chance in life, and I hope that he get granted today, that he have learned his lesson. And, you know, we make our own choices in life. So if he allowed parole today, and he decided to go back down the old road, which I feel like he's not gonna go down the old road, then he's gonna be okay. I know you hear this all the time, that people say what they're gonna do and they return back. I have endured a lot of tragedy within my life, within the last 9 years. I lost Officer Darrell Holloway, which is my son's father, due to Travis Ball. And I've been, you know, visiting my son to keep above the water, to keep me going. And I'm over excited, overwhelmed today to see him. And I prefer him to be home because I'm a broken down child. And if you grant it today, I'll be more than happy. And if not, I understand. I can't do no more than that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Johnson, when you've only served how many years? 6 years. You've been in since
6 years and 8 months.
on a 25-year sentence.
Yes, ma'am.
You know why you got that high of a sentence? Because of fentanyl. Fentanyl is very unforgiving. And there's just so many people who have lost their lives to that. And you,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah,
When I spoke with the detective that arrested him, he told me it was just heroin. I didn't never hear nothing about fentanyl.
Charge with them.
it's in the record.
You know, I was just angry, so I wouldn't know that out there.
Today, Mr. Johnson, you know, I think that you're doing a great job where you are on the boat. I think it's a really, really grand opportunity you're making. Okay. My vote today is going to be to deny you because of the length of time served. Don't think that you, you know, it's only not even a third of your sentence yet. And so my vote is to deny. Mr. Freeman?
I concur, Mr. Johnson, but you're doing great.
You are.
You know, keep saving that money. Save it for them, get out, take care of your mother. But you know, you gotta serve at least 33% of your time, me, anyway, so. My vote is to, deny.
Mr. Prater?
I'll stick with the panel, but I want to tell Mr. Johnson, I think you're doing great. Just want to remind you that the reason some people talk about a victimless crime, and Ms. Ledoux touched on it. You know, it's not a victimless crime when you sell somebody heroin or you sell somebody fentanyl or even cocaine. Whatever, it's not a victimless crime, and so that's what you're kind of paying back society. But I think you've done an excellent job in jail, and your attitude is great. You're respectful. You're making a lot of money. You're seeing you're making more money now, and you're gonna have a lot more than selling dope. I'm telling you. So you're on the right path, and I appreciate the attitude that you got. But I agree with them. Hadn't even served a third of your sentence, and there's some reason the judge gave you that much. So I concur with the denial.
Mr. Johnson, we really wish you well. I hope that it goes well and you get out and you're very successful. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's 26.
March of 2026. We are finished with our business there and Tangipahoa, and we're signing off at 10:48.
Okay, so I'm gonna unpack the whole work release thing because I think that I know I was when I hear 60,000 in the bank, and that's for just 25 months of work. And you might say, what am I doing wrong? Maybe I should be dealing fentanyl. And look, there's a few things. We have seen many different hearings with those on work release that we saw someone who was making over 100,000 a year. I remember that hearing just so clearly, and he the guy had such a terrible attitude too. It just left a real bad taste in your mouth. This guy, at least he's respectful and really did seem, I think, to appreciate the opportunity. But it's okay. So let's just go over it. Not everyone in work release makes good money. Those that work offshore tend to make the most of it. I think there are many different reasons why, but let's just go into the article as to why and how this works. So Louisiana has a long history of using captive labor for private profit. The Lafourche facility where Martin was enrolled has been operating for about 2 decades. Public documents obtained by Scalloway. Let me see, make sure you can see this clearly. Much better, right? Operating for about 2 decades. Public documents obtained and southerly show that Lafourche Parish release has made practice of allowing the oil and gas industry to hire incarcerated workers. The Lafourche, I know I'm pronouncing it wrong, even though I've heard it 1,000 times already. The Lafourche assigned work release participants to employment at 39 local companies on October 2019, half of which service oil and gas sector in some way. Some companies like Coral Marine provide oil spill response. Others, such as Berry Brothers, Pipeline Construction, Provision Energy provides meal services and rig sites. Gator Rigging makes equipment for offshore rigs. Other employees without apparent ties to oil and gas production are 2 sugar production companies and a shrimp supplier. And an alligator farm called Utopia. What an interesting name for an alligator farm. The DPS&C did not respond to Southerly Escalloway's request for update records about the work release program. According to Louisiana Legislative Audit, the Transitional Work Program TWT from fiscal year 2015, nearly a quarter of incarcerated people in the state participated in the program. Nearly a quarter of incarcerated people participated. I did not know that. Though only constituted about 3% of prisoner job placements that year. Offshore jobs are generally among the most lucrative for work release operators who get to keep a large portion of prisoner wages. In 2015, the offshore deckhand position had the highest wage of any of the top 10 most common work release jobs, while every other position hourly rate wages range between $7.38 and $8.98 an hour. Much better than probably the $2 you get a day in prison for working. Offshore deckhands made an average of $11.12 an hour. Everybody who was making good money at Lafourche Center was working offshore, Martin said. Work release job placements are chosen by facility operators, which are either parish sheriff offices or private third-party contractors. It shows that prisoners are compensated directly by their employers and are required to be paid no less than 50 cents above the federal minimum wage, although the DPS&C can grant exceptions. The facility operators in Lafourche case, the parish office, sheriff's office pocket 60. Okay, so here the sheriff's office pockets 64% of prisoners' gross wages, which are used to pay for their room and board. In 2015, operators across all work release programs in Louisiana made $35.5 million from prisoner wages. Let's see that again. In 2015, so that's 1 year. Don't you hate, by the way, this was written, let's just look at this. This was written in 2020, and they use data from 2015. It drives me nuts how certain these reports, they're allowed to get away with this crap. We live in a world where there is zero excuse for not pulling up the most recent year's data, but it's laziness. Anyways. Work release programs. Louisiana made 35.5 million from prison. It's just like a money making machine. Can you imagine? It's like a tax on a tax. Right? In addition, per diem payments, the state gave for each state prisoner and millions from commissary sales to their captive clientele. In the October 2019 monthly report from Lafouche, offender morale was described as low. Offenders are unhappy with strip searches, food, and room and board payments. 64% is too high, the report stated. Even if they were unhappy, declining the job can mean returning to a cell. So, says the parish sheriff, who told Scalloway and Sutherly that the work release program aims to bend over backwards to match prisoners with specific skills to appropriate work placements, and denied that the facility would place an individual in a dangerous work environment. But he said, if an inmate shows up and decided that they're not going to accept a job that's available, then we would not keep them at the center. We would rather have someone who's motivated to work. We can ship them back to DPS&C. Martin said that the way it is often spun, it's take it or go back to prison. The oil gas industry operates on a boom and bust cycle. In 2016, the work release facility in Terrebonne Parish, which is near Lafouche, closed during the oil bust. The facility was run by Louisiana Workforce, privately third-party contractor company. Paul Perkins is a former longstanding DNC employee. Perkins said that the workforce program is nothing but good. He closed the facility in Terrebonne Parish when oil prices dropped because the facility was no longer financially viable. The work release facility in Terrebonne Parish has not reopened. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. The use of work release program is common across the South. A recent investigation in Mississippi today revealed that in Mississippi, some incarcerated people must work low-wage jobs, fast food restaurants, in order to pay off fines, court-ordered debts, while also paying to rent the state institutions. I mean, so this is just, they're going through this and this. And I'll put the link to this article in the description. And it's interesting because part of the article is like arguing against it. Like, it's not right to put people to work in prison and it's like it's like, you know what, you might be on your high horse, like saying how it's not right or whatever. Why don't you just ask the inmates how they feel about it? You know, it's like so ridiculous. And you have a choice, you can work or not, but he's not spending his time in prison, he's spending his time on the boat. If you've been watching this channel long enough, you would know how seriously I take my privacy. So when I saw in the news that National Public Data announced that they suffered a major breach, potentially impacting every American, that really blew my mind. They say that over 2.9 billion records that are used for background checks. This includes personal information like full names, address, date of birth, phone numbers, and social security numbers, that it's been hacked, and confirmed that members of the hacker group released this information online for free for everyone to access. Why they would do this, who knows? But when they're caught, when we cover their parole hearing, I hope that it's a resounding deny. Now, anyways, if you haven't been taking your personal information online seriously, I think now is the time to change that. We are more vulnerable than ever before with today's landscape, and thankfully, I feel secure with Aura, the sponsor of today's video. I've been using Aura for nearly a year now. I get an email in my inbox every week. I click into it. I get all the information right there. It makes me sleep better at night. And on top of it, they offer a $5 million in identity theft insurance for worst case scenario. There's a side quality of life improvement as well that I personally love. And that is that Aura has nearly stopped all spam calls. I used to get 6-7 a day. It stopped. That to me makes it worth it in itself. If you want to give it a 2-week trial, go to the link in the description below, aura.com/Mandu. Please keep in mind that there will not be a drop-down option in the YouTube box that says Mandu, but it still will attribute to me if you use that link. Anyways, let's go back to the hearing.
Keavin Brock, the DOC number is 555860. You're classified as a 4th felony offender, currently serving a 12-year sentence. You were sentenced March 29, 2019 as a habitual offender for unauthorized entry of an inhabited dwelling. Parole eligibility date was June 15, 2020. You have a good time date November 18, 2028, and your full term date is June 16, 2029. Is that information correct, Mr. Brock?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
This has been assigned to Ms. Jackson. Would you answer her questions?
All right, Ms. Brock, how old are you?
I'm 31, ma'am.
And how much of this 12-year sentence have you served?
I served about half. It was a 12-year sentence. I did 5 years, ma'am.
Done 5?
Yes, ma'am.
This was a burglary or an unauthorized entry of a dorm room at UNO, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
What was that about?
Ma'am, I was living the wrong life at the time.
Tell me
And
what happened. Okay, it's obvious that you were living the wrong life. Tell me, what did you do in that particular, what acts did you commit?
I kicked in the guy's door of his dormitory, ma'am. And me and him got into an altercation. I kicked in his dorm room door. I broke the door, and I went to jail like a couple days later after that.
Okay, but also you took some items, is that correct, from him?
No, ma'am.
Sure.
No, in court, he came to court and he said that nothing was missing.
Because he, in the offense report, he said he had a wallet and $100 bill and a Michael Kors watch that had been taken. But why did you kick in his,
I can't hear you. What you said?
why did you kick in his door?
Because we had altercations. Me and him got into it.
About what?
A female. I was messing with his girlfriend.
And did you kick in a female's door that same day?
No, it was later on down the line, ma'am.
So why did you kick in her door?
Because he didn't want to fight me right then and there. And I went right behind him. He closed the door and I kicked into the door, man.
If that's his door, but what about the female's door?
He was staying with her, man.
So okay, let me do it this way. How many doors did you kick in?
I only kicked in one, ma'am.
Okay. Well, what I'm just reading what the offense report said, and so you'll understand my confusion, all right?
Yes, ma'am.
The victim stated he heard a knock on the door and saw someone identified as Keavin Swag. He didn't want to talk to you, so he didn't answer the door. A minute later, he heard a loud noise and his front door was forced open. And then it also says, police detective developed Keavin Brock as the perpetrator because Keavin Brock had kicked in his girlfriend's dormitory door nearby in a similar manner and had been banned from the campus. So according to, police, there was an incident previously where you kicked in your girlfriend's door and they told you were banned from the campus. And then you came back and on February 20th of 17, and that's when you kicked in Mr. Terry's door, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
There were two separate incidences where you kicked in a door at UNO, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That's all I'm trying to do is clear that up. Okay? And you were arrested and you ultimately ended up with a 12-year sentence and you were treated as an habitual offender. Is that
Yes, ma'am.
correct? Now, I'll tell you what concerns me. There are a number of things that concern me, Mr. Brock. But one of them is that you have had 3 prior periods of supervision. And you've been revoked 3 times. The first time you had a possession with intent to distribute marijuana, you got 5 years with 2 years on home incarceration, and the home incarceration was revoked based on a new felony conviction. And that happened in April of 2010. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And then the new conviction arose out of an arrest for aggravated arson. You pled guilty to simple arson. You got a 5-year sentence. You were released on good time, and you were revoked because you pled guilty to a pending felony. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And then in November of 2012, you were arrested again for possession with intent to distribute. You pled guilty. You got 5 years. You got out on good time. You had a technical revocation because of absconding, and you ended up you waived the violation, and again, your parole was revoked. So you've been given 3 opportunities in the past, and on each of those opportunities, you've not been able to successfully complete a period of supervision. Can you tell us why you were unable to comply with the conditions of your previous opportunities?
Yes, ma'am. At the time, I didn't have no leadership and I didn't have discipline. I wasn't living right. I was doing what I wanted to do. I didn't care for anyone, how other people feel at the time. I was all about Keavin, and it was, understand, it's being I was obnoxious, not thinking about the next person, not thinking about my future life. But ever since I've been rehabilitated, I have been thinking about a lot of things that I have done in the past and what I can do right now in the future to better myself.
Well, let's talk about that. What have you been doing for the last 5 years? First, do you have a job at the prison?
What you said?
You have a work assignment at the prison.
Yes, ma'am.
What is that work assignment?
To be in school. I'm in a veterans program taking classes. And I help around a facility when they need help, ma'am.
How long have you been in Hunt?
I've been in Hunts approximately, I want to say about going on 2 years, ma'am.
Okay, where were you before?
Where were I before? I was at a work release.
Okay, well, out of what facility? At the end of the work day, where did you come home to?
You talking about the last time I got out of jail, ma'am?
Okay, if you told me you've been in prison 5 years.
What work release was
Been in prison for 5 years, you've only been in Hunt 2 years.
Right.
So obviously at 3 years, you were someplace else. And I'm asking you, where were you before you came to Hunt?
I can't remember the name of the facility that I was in, ma'am, but I was, at the Southwest work release, ma'am. I was there for about a year, but they sent me over here because I was diagnosed with cancer.
Okay, and is that why you ended up in Hunt?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and what's the current status of your health?
Right now I'm in remission. I've been in remission about, I want to say, a year and a half now, ma'am.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. So what kind of programs have you taken?
Anger management.
So let's stop right there. Sounds like you were in need of anger management.
Yes, ma'am. I took two of them, 2 classes of that, of anger
So
management.
what did you learn about yourself, or what did you learn in anger management?
I learned how to walk away from situations when, even when I feel like I'm right and that person is wrong, still walk away and just let them feel that they right, because if I was to go back and forth with a person, the situation would get worse. I learned how to have patience. I learned how to think about the next person and not just Keavin, you know?
What other programs have you taken?
I took money management, how to save money. So if I was to get out of jail, how to live out there in society, and with the little money that I would be making, know how to manage it. So it was all about money management skills, man.
So was that part of the 100 hours of pre-release?
Yes, ma'am.
Completed 100 hours pre-release. Did you get your GED?
Right now, I failed 2 tests, and my teacher wrote a letter to y'all about, you know, me doing well in school and that I'm not that equipped to get my GED, get my GED, but she wrote a letter saying that I have my credits, I have been in school, I'm doing good, and I had a letter right here, if you want to see it.
No, we have that in your packet. Let's talk about your disciplinary history. How many write-ups have you had?
I want to say about 3, maybe 4, ma'am.
Well, when was the last write-up that you had?
It was at the last place that I was at the work release I was telling you about, ma'am.
So you've not had a write-up in Hunt?
I think so. I think I have, ma'am.
And Mr. Brock, this is the time, we have the record.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm trying to remember what it was for, ma'am.
Okay, I'm about to tell you. It was July 26,
Mhm.
2021. Do you remember that? July 26th of last year. It was for defiance,
Yeah.
aggravated disobedience, and property damage.
Mhm.
Tell me about that.
I was in my cell. I had a cellie. One of my cellmates, he stuck something in the door. I told him take it out the door. I'm trying to make parole. He said, F that, I'm keeping it like this so he can leave in and out the cell. He didn't want to listen to me. I let him do what he wanted to do, and I left it alone because I didn't want to get into an altercation with him. The lady came down the hallway. She seen our cell jammed up, and she got both of us with property damage. I tried to speak to the woman and let her know what happened. She didn't want to hear it. So she wrote me and him up, and she got me for aggravated disobedience, ma'am.
And what was your punishment?
My punishment, they took store restriction and I think phone restriction, ma'am.
And what about a write-up in October of 24, defiant and aggravated disobedience?
Yes,
Remember
ma'am.
that? Tell me about that.
That was my fault, ma'am.
Those one.
The lady told me do something and I ain't do it. I think, huh?
Why didn't you do it?
I think I was fighting cancer at the time, ma'am, and I had a lot on my plate, and I was frustrated, and I wasn't thinking clearly enough.
And so what did you refuse to do? What did she ask you to do that you refused to do?
I can't remember what she asked me, ma'am, to be honest with you. but I know it has something to do with me not following her orders.
But you just don't remember what the order was, is that what you're
No,
saying?
yes, ma'am, I don't know what the order was.
Well, I see that, tell me about veterans mentor training. Why did you do veterans mentor training?
Because I needed leadership. I needed discipline. I struggled with that my whole life, with taking orders, with listening to what other people have to say. And like I said, I always felt it was all about me. I always wanted to do what I wanted to do until I found that guidance to where
Talking for a minute, tell me, what is veterans mentor training? What did that involve?
it involved in like learning people skills, learning how to communicate with others, learning how to obey rules, learning how to stay focused even when you in some of the tightest decisions in life, you know.
When did you do that training?
I started this training, ma'am, and like I want to say about 8 months ago, ma'am. 9 months ago.
Okay. And was it a certain number of classes, or do you go all the time, or how does that work?
It's every day, ma'am. It's nonstop. You go to school. Once I leave school, I gotta go to a class. When I get out that class, I gotta go to a whole nother class. I mean, it's basically all day. You know, you always been taught something.
Okay, and where are you in school, and what are you in school for?
I'm in school trying to get my GED, but it's kind of hard for me to get it because of the grade level that I'm at. But even though I keep failing, I keep, I steady going to school. I'm staying in school. I'm staying focused. I'm not giving up. But I'm in there every day.
Did you acquire any job skills?
Job skills?
Have you ever had any kind of vocational education?
Yeah, I did demolition on the street.
No, I mean, prison, did you take any classes in prison to help you get a job on the outside?
No, ma'am.
Now I'm looking at your disciplinary report, and I see that in 2019, you were removed from a lot of programs because of disciplinary issues.
Yes, ma'am.
You want to explain that? Not each one individually, but why were you having difficulty staying in the class?
Because at the time, ma'am, when I first caught my sentence and I went to taking these classes, I started off on a rocky road, and I wasn't focused at the time. At the time, I was still wild. I was still thinking about myself. I still was doing things that I wanted to do, and they took me out them classes. And when they took me out them classes and I kept getting in trouble, I finally realized the next place that I go to, I'm gonna take these classes, I'm gonna finish these classes, I'm gonna do the right thing, I'm gonna take care of my business, and it's not gonna be any more disciplinaries. I haven't been in trouble in a while.
You're talking about something from 2021, July of 2021.
That was
Yes, July 2021, and then before then, October in 2020, and you had been removed from those classes in 2019. So even after that, you were still having some issues. what's your transition plan if you were to be released? What's your transition plan?
Man, when I get out, I want to
Where would
be,
you
huh?
live? Where would you live?
I would stay with my mom.
And where is that?
That's in New Orleans, man.
Okay? And what kind of work would you do?
Demolition.
All right, because that's what you've done before.
Yes, ma'am. That's what I'm good at.
Do you have a job offer from anyone?
Yes, ma'am. My best friend, he worked for this place called the Second Chance Program in New Orleans. They help people find jobs and give them jobs. They pay you $80 a day. I gave y'all. He wrote y'all a letter saying that this is where I'm going to be working at, the address and his name. So that's going to be like a temporary job until I find something better.
Have you done any substance abuse treatment while you were incarcerated? Because two of your prior convictions were drug offenses. So have you taken any kind of substance abuse treatment while you've been incarcerated?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
What did you do? What
What kind of-
program done?
It's a program in Fox 7. Trying to think of it. RDAL program, man. I took a class called RDAL.
And what you get out of that?
Drugs is like, huh?
Specifics. Tell me some specifics you got out of that.
How drugs can take a toll of your life. It makes you do things that you normally wouldn't do if you were not, high under the substance. It taught me how to, say no and, stay away from people that do drugs, how to detect things that's going to trigger you to start doing drugs.
What are some of
What you say, ma'am?
What are some of those things, those triggers?
Well, the things that used to trigger me when I used to smoke weed, it used to be like a friend, somebody just walk past me and I smell some weed and I'd be like, oh, I wish I had some weed to smoke. I could smoke some weed. A bad influence. Things of that nature, man.
Okay. All right. Warren, what can you tell us about Mr. Brock?
Ms. Jackson, I mean, he has been in our hunt population for about a year. Since that time, he has actively participated in the veterans program. As he mentioned, he did go through our RDAP program, that residential drug abuse program, and then from there moved to Fox 6, which is a less restrictive, more open dormitory setting, and he's been actively participating in that program. He has some certificates that that he's accomplished just in the last few months from the vets program. They do some internal things with him. He's participated in our sandbagging efforts with the vets program through Hurricane Ida, and he's been active. Like he said, it's structured. He stays busy. He doesn't have a lot of time to do other things. So, and it's been very good for him. I want to clear up something on the disciplinary report. He did have a rehearing on that 2021 write-up, and he was found not guilty. So the last write-up that I do have on his record is October of 2020.
Okay.
And that's all I have. His supervisors all are, positive about how far he's come just in such a short period of time.
Well, thank you very much. And Mrs. Renata, that's all I have.
Thank you. So we'll hear from your family who's here with us. Let's hear first from your brother, Mr. Robert Brock.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Basically, man, I just want to say I've been with man, it's been a journey. I've been with Keavin every step of the way. You know, you guys mentioned all the times he went to jail before. Over that's been like the course of what, 10 years maybe. So I'm 29. So I've seen a lot of growth from Keavin over the last 10 years. You know, it's not it's not a walk in the park, but he's definitely showed a lot of maturity, a lot of patience, a lot of growth, a lot of positivity. Even especially this last time he's been in there, it's been 5 years, and it's been times where like he'll call me and I'll be down, and you know he'll pick me up, you know, and I think that says a lot from someone who's in jail, you know, and he can just lift me off a 10-15 minute phone call. His officer just said, you know, he stays busy. One of my goals is to keep him busy here. Like he mentioned, he has a job offer from one of our best friends we grew up with. But we also own a family sports training facility. So when he's not there, he'll be working at the training facility too. You know, so my goal is to keep him active, keep him steady, keep him busy, you know, just to get his mind off of doing anything, you know, negative, you know. But I've seen a lot of growth from Keavin and I'm proud of him. We just talked the other day and he just heard in my voice, he's like, what's wrong with you, man? You okay? And just, you know, just that's like, you know, him noticing that just, it made me feel better, you know, just asking me, you know, how I'm feeling and stuff like that. So I feel like he'll do well this time around. I feel like he finally learned his lesson. So that's pretty much all I have to say.
Well, thank you, sir. We appreciate your. We'd like to hear from sister, Miss Kenyatta Brock.
Hello. Hi. Well, first I want to say thank you all for allowing us all to be here today. And I know that it was only 3 of us that was supposed to speak today, but Keavin has a big family and he has a support team behind him. And I know he's mentioned that, and I don't know if you guys know this, but Keavin battled with cancer in silence, not knowing what was affecting his body, then went on to battle cancer with chemotherapy by himself in the midst of COVID. And I watched so many families lose their loved ones through COVID and were never able to say goodbye. And that took a real toll at that time on the family and also on Keavin. This was a turning point for not only Keavin, but for the entire family. Keavin is better now, as he says, he's in remission. And when I say better, when I talk to Keavin, his mind is better, his positivity, he is ambitious to pursue the life he deserves to pursue. He has always been, even in getting in trouble in the past, he has always been about giving back and helping others. And I just see this light around that so much more through our conversations. Keavin battled with cancer, and this gave him a different perspective on life. And I'm so proud of him for persevering through all of that without having a family support. To really come through, be able to hug him, kiss him, tell him things will be all right. Since his battle with cancer, he has put his health first. He's developed new daily habits, like working out regimen. He is more health conscious about the foods he's eating, and he has enrolled in classes, as he shared with you guys. He realized that his life is short, and he has already spent a fraction of his life behind bars. This entire journey has allowed him to reflect and learn that the life he deserves to live is filled with family and doing the right thing and staying out of trouble. And when my brother gets out, he's going to have a job. As my uncle just said, we not only have one sports facility, we have 2. We have a movement studio, you know, staying active in life and, you know, contribute to a positive attitude through that. We also have the sports facility. And this is going to allow him to further his health and wellness journey. And he's also going to have a place to stay. And we all will align him with getting into a trade program, and also ensure that we can help him with more support in getting his GED. And I thank you all, judges, for allowing me to speak on behalf of my brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing those remarks with us. Mr. Albert Brock.
Hi, everyone. I'm glad to be here. Thank you guys for allowing us to have this moment today. I'm sorry, I try not to be. I'm trying my best. Time has taken its course. Keavin is a product of his own environment. And the reason why I say that because I lost my mom, I lost my dad and my brother in a 2-year span of time. Not everybody's strong to do what I did because I felt as though after my parents died, I had to step up and I vowed to always be there for my sisters and brothers when they needed me. Not knowing that I was neglecting my nieces and nephews at the moment. I've always been there for my sisters and brothers and help them succeed through life. And I always knew I wanted more. So I vowed to move to Texas because I felt that I would have a better opportunity out there. Little state. I spoke with Keavin while he was incarcerated, and it hurted me to know that he's there because Keavin is a real good kid. And I know he's there because of lack of leadership around him because I went through it. But I was trying to find my way. My parents, my dad and my dad didn't know how to be a man, so I was trying to find my way. So now that I'm back, I'm here to take full responsibility of anything to do with Keavin. I would work with his parole as much as I need to be. I will even move Keavin to Dallas with me if I see he's going the wrong way. But we have a strong system right now set up for him in New Orleans. And if we even see the first week that is not working, we will fly Keavin out to Dallas with me. Because I know the people of Louisiana is missing him because we all miss him. And we all need that support. And there's much more support out there with Keavin being home, and that's definitely what he needs. He needs that support. He needs that reassurance that he's loved, that we're all here for him, and that we're all a team. We're in a different space than we were 10 years ago as a family. As you spoke with the young man and young lady just before me, which is my niece and my brother, they own facilities. And they know anytime they need anything, they call Uncle, and Uncle will not disappoint them. I'm going to show up every time they ask, because all these kids in our family are good kids. We just grew up on the wrong side. And now that we all are here together, we're stronger than we've ever been before. And we're excited to be here at this moment to give Keavin a piece of this opportunity that we have now, because we're all growing as a family. And we will not allow him to go back into what he has been doing. I've sat here and I listened to what you guys have been talking, what he has done. I've never one time asked Keavin about what he did, but I did ask him about scenarios. We talked about scenarios. What would you do in this situation? I talked to him about his dream and his future. He's very passionate about art, what he wants to do. I told him, yeah, just go work with people so you can have that ability of working with others. But you definitely need to get out and work with others so you can build that more up. But we all definitely will be there and with him every step of the way.
Thank you, Mr. Brock. We appreciate it. He's very fortunate to have all the support. Keavin, is there a statement you'd like to make to the panel?
I want to apologize for all the wrong that I've done in the past. And I'm glad to be here today in front y'all. And I just want to thank y'all. I want to thank y'all. Thank you, ma'am. Thank y'all. I appreciate y'all for everything.
Thanks, sir. I think we're prepared to vote. We'll start with Ms. Jackson.
First, Mr. Brock, I'm glad that the cancer is in remission, and I wish for you continued good health and recovery. I'll tell you, I'm on the fence right now. I see that you're moving in the right direction. You started off not doing so well. You had some disciplinary issues. You've been removed from programs because of disciplinary issues. You have done some programs. I understand the struggle you have with getting your high set. I see that you appreciate the structure of the Veterans Mental Program, and those are all good things. You know, I see that you are commended for organizing and working to fill 10,000 sandbags. But again, there are some issues, and I think you're headed in the right direction. But I think you need just a little bit more work. I'd like to see you enroll in and complete Living in Balance. I'd like for you to not have any disciplinary write-ups between now and the time that you're eligible to reapply. And I want you to continue to not give up on your high set. I know it's a struggle, but you persevere. And if you just work a little harder, stay out of trouble, then I think you'll have a different outcome on your next time up. And I'll encourage you to apply as soon as you're eligible, but get into Living in Balance and try to get that under your belt. But my vote today is going to be to deny because of poor supervision history and your disciplinary issues. But I want to encourage you to not discourage, to keep working, and I think you're going to make it, all right?
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it.
Ms. Keavin, tell me about this shirt you got on. It's a nice shirt.
Oh, a friend of mine gave me, he let me wear it to come up for the parole board because I'm in
Very nice.
I'm in this program, so I was just representing the program. That's all it was.
Right there. Well, you represented well. You represented well. My vote is to deny today, but I want you to hear not yet. Not yet. Because I would like to see a long time of no write-ups. You turn the corner from 2020 on, that's going to be a longer with no write-ups. Continue to work your programs.
and there's victim opposition. And I want to encourage your family to start working on that. You have a pending citation out of Scottsdale. If they can start working on that pending matter and get that squared away. I don't think they put a detainer on you, but that's something that's out there. They can start working on for you. But best wishes to you, sir. And right back as soon as you're eligible for a review. But just not yet, not today.
Mr. Brock, I was really excited to hear the excitement in your family's voice. They are really, really proud of you. You are very fortunate to have their support, and they're making plans for you. I was glad to hear what Warden Buttress said about work supervisor and the folks around there that have really noticed your turnaround that you've made. You've turned that corner.
Yes, ma'am.
I would today, I have concerns about your disciplinary, but I really, with the support of your family and the positive remarks by the prison staff, my vote today would be to grant your parole. But in your case, because you've gotten 2 votes to deny that say not yet, your vote, the outcome of today's proceeding is that your parole's been denied. Now, you can apply in a very short time frame, I believe. So they'll tell you that. Ms. Chrissy can help you with that. But stay right up through, do the programs, reapply. Hopefully, I feel confident to have a different outcome next time we see.
So definitely interesting that you would land up with a 12-year sentence for basically kicking in the door of your girlfriend or of the buddy who you think is, and then all of a sudden you're in prison for 12 years. But of course, you take a step back and you realize this guy is just an habitual offender. That's what it's classified as. And Miss Jackson goes through all of his different felonies, possession with intent to distribute. And then you have, the arson case is something interesting. That's where we have the biggest news article on. Thank you, Sir Richard. And we can go over that. But basically, while he was arraigned in court for one of his felonies, he lit the bathroom on fire. What? I mean, it's interesting. You see him here in prison, as Miss Wise pointed out, the really nice shirt, and he holds himself well. He's respectable. He's I think, likable. I was rooted for him, and it's funny the contrast between like a Louisiana hearing and a Connecticut hearing. You don't really see this in like Connecticut or Iowa. It's like, it's like really, I don't know. I kind of wish they would have granted. I get it that he has this long, but maybe now he's finally got a long enough stint and maturity. And he does have the great family support. But his good time date's 2028. This hearing took place 4/6/2022. So maybe we'll see him in the calendar of 2025. Again, now Louisiana has changed the rules. You can't have a write-up within 3 years. But it doesn't give me the impression that I'll get a write-up anymore. But it is funny when you look at what he's in for 12 years, and it's just entry of an inhabited dwelling, which was breaking into the dorm room and stealing some money. But they said enough is enough, of course. And I think context is everything. So if you're ever hearing a debate or someone is talking about, hey, this person's serving 12 years in Louisiana, and what they did is they broke down they kicked in a dorm room, and it's like, well, let's look at the full picture. It's always important to look at the full picture, but I think 12 years is still way too much, and hopefully he gets paroled. It's interesting. We see them parole for so much. It's like, I don't know. I would have liked to have seen it. But they might be protecting him because to get a 5th felony, you can end up then really getting screwed, and maybe they just want to give him more time. Men's room fire at Gretna Courthouse brings 5-year sentence, but as you know, it wasn't even the full 5 years, right? He got out. They took it easy on him. They kept giving him chance after chance after chance, and I guess that's where you just have to draw the line. I don't know what it is. Like, what is it that makes someone so? But it's nothing violent. He's not hurting children. It's hard to get worked up over this stuff, right? Now, a teenager he was a teenager when he did this, Monday to 5 years in prison for lighting a small tissue on fire a small tissue paper afire, but still it's in the courtroom. It's like, what are you doing? Keavin Brock, 19, pled guilty to simple arson in connection with the January 14, 2009 incident in the public restroom on the 4th floor at a courthouse in Gretna just after he left 24th Judicial Courtroom in a huff. So it's a public restroom. He's not right. He's not. He's upset. He's upset. The immaturity level is so insane. It's hard. It's just impossible to understand. So he's in the courthouse. They say something. He's so pissed off. He goes into the bathroom and lights a fire. He was apparently upset with something in the court that day, Assistant Attorney General says, with the biggest understatement of the day. Brock, who went to the court that day to plead innocent to charge of possession with intent to distribute, walked straight to the judge, Steve Woodhurst's courtroom, to the men's room with his brother, Keith, and lit the fire. Oh, that was the same brother that spoke for him. That's interesting. Isn't it the brother who said I wasn't? Did he say I wasn't there to keep? I don't know. Actually, maybe I wasn't listening, so I don't want to say anything that's not fair. Minutes after they left, the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office Detective Don, who was in another 4th floor courtroom to testify at a murder trial, discovered the charred, smoldering mound of tissue paper on the tile floor beside a toilet in the stall. The restroom was not damaged by the small fire. The fire burned itself out through an exhaust vent. That toilet stall sucked out the smoke of the courthouse. Fire alarm system did not activate. Few people in the building at the time realized there would have been a fire. The Gretna Police Department, which handles courthouse security and surveillance cameras outside the men's bathroom, to determine who went into the before, according to the police report, Assistant DA Jerry Smith, who prosecuted the Brocks and the Windhurst court, identified them in the surveillance images. District Attorney Paul Connick Jr. Recused his office from the case because Smith was a witness to the Attorney General's office handling the case. Judge Chuck Credo of the 24th District Court, who approved the plea deal, urged Brock to learn a vocation while in prison. Brock said he dropped out of high school in the 9th grade. I would become a person who can fix anything, Credo told Brock, who stood next to his public defender. Keith Brock, 22, also had a warrant for his arrest for the incident. The Brock pleaded guilty to Devil's Lettuce charges last year, and Windhurst sentenced him to 5 years in probation. They were to be confined to home incarceration for the first 2 years of the sentence. However, Keith Brock absconded and remained at large. Wow. Sheriff narcotics agents arrested them in October 2008 during a raid in the apartment in which they discovered more than 250 grams. It's like, I mean, I don't know. It's like, ooh, I'm angry. Let's go light this tissue on fire in the courthouse. Ha 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 ha. And they gave him 5 years, but they let him off early. But still, that's pretty. But they kept getting him off, He kept getting in trouble. He was obviously clearly super mature. Hopefully, he's grown out of it. But yeah, he's still locked up, guys. And I don't know. I wish they could have done something. I don't know. Send him to somewhere. I don't know. Anyways, how do you feel about it? What do you think? And with that, I'll let you go.
You know, it's not a victimless crime. When you sell somebody heroin or you sell somebody fentanyl or even cocaine, whatever, it's not a victimless crime. And so that's what you're kind of paying back society.